Have you ever wondered if people actually use intimacy to stay warm in freezing temperatures? Absolutely they do. In Alaska, where temperatures can plummet to -40 degrees Fahrenheit, survival isn't just about heavy clothing, it's about ingenuity. Here, ice dominates everything. The sun vanishes for months, and isolation is so severe that your closest neighbor might be dozens of miles away. But how do these people actually live? What do they eat? How do they make a living? And how do they endure such brutal cold without losing their minds? In this video, you're going to dive into one of the most extreme and fascinating lifestyles on Earth. Get ready to discover real stories, incredible places, and traditions that seem like they're from another planet. And I'm warning you, what you're about to see will completely transform how you think about life in the frozen wilderness. Alaska is a United States territory, but it's nothing like what you picture when you think of America. It sits isolated in the far northwest of North America, bordering Canada and incredibly close to Russia, separated only by the Bering Sea. This place is massive, filled with forests, snow-covered peaks, and endless untamed wilderness. But what truly captures your attention here, without question, is the cold, and not just any cold. We're talking about temperatures that can drop to -50 degrees Fahrenheit, or even lower, depending on location and season. Here the climate is so harsh, it becomes a genuine adversary. The air is dry and freezing. Just taking a deep breath feels like your lungs are crystallizing. People living in Alaska must constantly be ready to face this challenge. Clothing isn't just for warmth, it's about staying alive. Massive coats, wool layers, specialized boots, gloves that look like pillows. Everything must shield against cutting winds and snow that never stops falling. But the cold doesn't just affect people, it completely transforms how life works. Cars need to stay running longer, so they don't freeze solid. House doors and windows are heavily reinforced to trap heat inside, and going out at night can be dangerous if you're not properly equipped. In just minutes, exposed skin can begin freezing. What's fascinating is how people eventually adapt. It's like the body and mind learn to exist in a world covered in ice. And still, many people choose to stay here, facing this climate every single day. But why? That's what we're going to uncover throughout this video. One of the most intriguing aspects of Alaska is how sunlight and darkness here seem to have their own personality. Depending on the time of year and which region you're in, daylight can last nearly 24 hours, or night can feel like it will never end. During summer, what's called the midnight sun occurs. In northern cities like Barrow, the sun simply doesn't set for several consecutive days. It dips slightly toward the horizon, but immediately rises again. It's an incredibly strange sensation. 2 in the morning, and the sky remains bright, like it's sunset time. Many people install thick curtains in their homes to sleep, because the body gets completely confused. It feels like daytime constantly. Even so, people living here eventually adjust. They develop strict routines, with fixed schedules for everything, so their biological clock doesn't go haywire. And over time, many even learn to enjoy that different rhythm. A lifestyle that only exists in extreme places like Alaska. Are you enjoying discovering what life is like in this frozen and extreme corner of the planet? Well, know that this is just one of many incredible places we're going to explore here on the channel. If you're enjoying the video, leave your like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, do you think you could live in a place like Alaska? And now let's continue, because what comes next will surprise you even more. Living in Alaska also means adapting when it comes to food. With such intense cold, the body burns more energy just staying warm, so people need more caloric foods, rich in fat and protein. And since you can't grow almost anything in frozen ground and harsh climate, eating habits here are very different from what we know in countries like Mexico and other parts of the United States. Those living in major cities can buy food shipped from other places, but it's usually quite expensive. A simple tomato or carton of eggs can cost double or even more than in other parts of America. That's why many families still depend on fishing and hunting, especially in small or isolated communities. Salmon is one of the most consumed fish and gets caught in large quantities in regional rivers. Another very traditional food among native peoples is moose and caribou meat, hunted sustainably as part of their culture. And in the coldest areas, whale blubber is still used by some indigenous groups not only as an energy source, but also as part of their identity. And to warm up from inside, soups and stews are essential in daily life. Everything piping hot, with meat, vegetables, grains, whatever's available. In winter some people even freeze food outside their house, because the cold already does the freezer's job. Living in Alaska means being surrounded by nature that looks like it's from a documentary. Here wildlife isn't just in forests and mountains. Sometimes it appears right at your front door. This state is known for having one of the largest bear populations in the United States. There are brown bears, black bears, and even the famous polar bear that lives further north, near the Arctic. In some villages it's common to see street signs asking for caution with bears, especially in summer when they approach looking for food. Besides them, there are enormous moose that cross roads like they own the place, caribou that walk in herds, and wolves that live more distant, but also form part of this wild ecosystem. And of course, there are also bald eagles, symbol of the United States, that fly free through frozen skies, especially near rivers and lakes. In the ocean the diversity is also impressive. Whales, seals, sea lions and otters form part of the landscape, plus a great variety of fish. For those who live from fishing or love nature, this is a true paradise. But you must have respect and caution, because these animals aren't decorations, they're part of daily life. For those living here, residents learn from childhood to coexist with these animals, without getting too scared, but also not dropping their guard, securing garbage properly, making noise when walking trails, maintaining distance. All that forms part of life with wild fauna. Here the rule is clear: you're entering their territory, not the reverse. Living in a place where temperatures are so low completely changes how houses get built. In Alaska, priority number one is thermal insulation. Without that, there's no way to withstand the cold. Houses here are usually made with resistant materials and have insulation layers in walls, roof and floor. Windows are thick, generally with double or even triple glass to prevent heat from escaping. Internal heating is mandatory. It can be by fireplace, gas heater, oil or even radiant floor heating, depending on region and house structure. Another common thing is many houses are slightly elevated from ground to prevent cold from freezing pipe. In more isolated villages, where access is difficult and material costs are high, houses can be simpler, but always adapted to climate. And unlike what many people think, not everyone lives in igloos. That's a traditional Inuit dwelling, used in specific situations, and only for short periods. Nowadays most people live in conventional houses, but heavily reinforced, in urban areas like Anchorage or Fairbanks. You can even see neighborhoods similar to those in other parts of the United States. But when you go to interior villages or far north, everything changes. Smaller houses, well insulated and often surrounded by snow on all sides. Living in Alaska is like inhabiting inside a cocoon, protected from exterior cold, but always aware that extreme weather is just steps from your door. Imagine looking at the sky and seeing lights dancing with green, pink and purple tones, shining right above your head. The northern lights are one of the most impressive and beautiful natural phenomena in the world. This light show occurs when particles coming from the sun collide with Earth's magnetic field, and because of its location in the far north, Alaska is one of the best places on the planet to see aurora clearly. In cities like Fairbanks, for example, it can be seen frequently during winter months, when nights are long and sky is clear. There are even hotels and cabins with glass roofs, designed especially so people can enjoy the spectacle without leaving their warm room. Many people travel thousands of miles just to see this phenomenon, but for those living in Alaska, although it remains something magical, it's already part of routine. In Alaska, a neighbor isn't someone you see in the elevator or who hears your music through the wall. Here a neighbor can live 20, 50 or even 100 kilometers away. The state is enormous, full of forests, mountains, frozen rivers and scattered towns. Many of these communities are so remote you can only reach them by plane, boat or snowmobile. Some don't even have roads. That's why isolation forms part of daily life. For someone accustomed to city noise and accelerated pace, the silence here can feel strange at first. But for those born or who decided to live in Alaska, that silence means free. No traffic, no crowds, just nature, wind sounds, and sometimes a wolf howl in the distance. Of course, there are also challenges. It's not easy getting quick help in emergencies, and not every delivery reaches your door. Sometimes you have to wait weeks to receive something basic, not counting loneliness that can be felt especially during long winters. But on the other hand, people learn to be more independent, to solve things themselves. And although they're physically distant, bonds between inhabitants are strong, because here everyone knows that sometime they might need each other, even if that neighbor is kilometers away. Long before Alaska became part of the United States, this land was already inhabited by native peoples, with incredibly rich cultures, and although time has passed and modernity has arrived, those traditions remain more alive than ever. Among Alaska's main native groups are the Inupiat Yupik, Athabaskan, Tlingit, Haida, and many more. Each has its own language, customs, clothing, beliefs, and stories transmitted from generation to generation. Much of their culture is connected with nature, because to survive here it was always necessary to understand and respect the environment. Hunting, fishing, and using dog sleds remain part of life in many of these communities. In big cities like Anchorage, this heritage can be seen in museums, cultural centers, and street murals, but in more remote villages, that culture remains present in everyday life, in celebrations, in elder teachings, and in how they live day to day. Talking about Alaska without mentioning its original peoples would be leaving out the true guardians of this land. They haven't just resisted extreme cold, but have known how to preserve a unique way of life, full of ancestral wisdom and strength of those who learned to live in one of the planet's most challenging places. In Alaska, winter isn't just a season, it's a true test of endurance. With temperatures that easily drop below -30 degrees Fahrenheit, days with almost no sun, and tons of snow, those living here must learn to adapt. And over time, inhabitants have developed various tricks to deal with all. One secret is famous layering, which basically consists of wearing multiple clothing layers. It's not just putting on a big coat over everything. There's a whole technique, one layer to maintain body heat, another to insulate from cold, and one more to protect from wind and snow. Thick socks, lined boots, and resistant gloves are essential. Another curious fact is cars always have to be ready for cold. Many have a kind of engine heater that connects to electricity to prevent the engine from freezing. And never wash your car on very cold days. Water can turn to ice instantly and stick doors, windows, and even the entire car to the ground. Inside houses, oil, gas, or wood heaters are very common. Many people also take advantage to store food, water, and fuel, because sometimes heavy snowfall can leave everything stopped for days. But most important of all is mentality. Those living here know winter demands calmness, preparation, and even some patience, but they also learn to see beauty in snowflakes falling slowly, white silence covering everything outside, and that feeling of being warm and safe while the world freezes. So what do you think? Can you imagine living surrounded by snow, bears, and northern lights, facing that cold every day and still carrying on a normal life? Here, every detail of daily life is a challenge, but also a source of beauty and stories that inspire. Tell us in the comments. Could you live in a place like this, or do you know some other extreme corner of the world that deserves its own video? We love reading your ideas and experiences. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. If you're passionate about discovering different cultures, knowing impressive places, and seeing the world from another perspective, this is your place. There's always new content here, so join us in the next adventure.